Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. First, I have to ask you, what shirt are you wearing? I can only see a little bit.
Oh, it says the Bennetts, and it's like all the Bennett sisters from Pride and Prejudice walking across, like the Beatles. Here, I'll show you.
Okay, because I thought it was the Beatles, and I'm like, oh, that's an awesome shirt.
Thank you.
You got to take a picture and put it on Instagram.
Okay, I could do that.
Yeah.
I will do that.
We are the show that talks about creeps from the past to the present. The Bennetts were not creeps. We are talking about reality creeps. That's a pretty popular topic, and there's some things going on in the news we wanted to discuss. And then Sonia will end the show today with someone who's not a creep.
Correct.
Someone I've worked with. Ooh. That's going to add to the allure for people. Please follow us on social media. We do have a basic Facebook page, but that is just a place where people go to complain about our language. We use salty language in this program. Deal with it.
Yeah, fucking deal with it.
We are much more interactive in our private Facebook group. You have to type in What a Creep podcast group. You have to answer some questions, and then you can join. And we do just talk about news and pop culture and things like that. And it's very not creepy. And we like to keep it that way.
The nicest group on Facebook.
Yes. We are on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep on Twitter, I do not say X, for over 10 years and never used it.
Great.
We're on Instagram and Threads at What a Creep Podcast, and we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Just spell that all out. And we have some stickers. If y'all would like some stickers, please email us and give us your address wherever you are on the planet of Earth, and we will get them out to you. Very exciting.
Your dad.
Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that. Whatacreeppodcast.com. It's everything you ever wanted to know about the podcast, but we're afraid to ask. It has links to all of our past episodes, and in each of those little posts are show notes because we source every single thing we do. We want to give credit to the people that did all the dirty work, all the legwork on these creeps. It's a great place for a deeper dive on any of the creeps that we're talking about, so please check that out. We also have shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks because COVID is spiking. You can get all the things there. Please do it. I uploaded some new designs, including adorable everybody drink and the high road can get fucked. But it doesn't say fucked because some people don't want to walk around with a shirt that says fucked. So it's like, kind of
blurred or whatever.
It's like blurred out.
Obscured
or
whatever.
Anyway. Yeah. So anyway. The shirts are super comfy. I ordered a new one for myself. There's also a link to our Substack where you can get our monthly newsletter. So check it out. And there's more. There's a link to our Patreon page. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. That is the place where, if you want to help us out financially with the show, we're not a part of a big network or anything like that. So we use all the money for the news sources and for the software and everything else just to put the show together. Yeah. And we put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and we put up our first 8 seasons are on that wall. And I want to thank the following people for joining us recently: Carolee, Ellery, Jennifer, Julia, Kirsten, and Eva. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Eva. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. All right, Sonia, did I forget anything? Are we...
No, I think we're good.
We're talking about reality today, and we're going to actually talk about something that I got you into Bravo.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like reality TV. I do, but I didn't watch a lot of the Bravo shows. I was more of a Real World and then maybe American Idol. And So You Think You Can Dance and that sort of thing. Yeah, Margot got me hooked on The Real Housewives of New York and Salt Lake City. And most recently, below deck down
Yes.
under.
Below Deck's been in the news a lot this week. And I know it's not just me talking about it, but they had an incredible episode this past week, and we're going to talk about it because right now, as we're recording this, there's a strike with SAG and AFTRA. Actors are going on strike. Writers are going on strike. It's people that work on the sets and the crews. People want to be paid more for what they do, especially in a streaming world where they didn't
Yes.
get any kind of extra residuals for the work. And actually, the prices for the work was cut down dramatically from network television because it was treated like it was lesser than. When it turns out, nobody even really watches network TV anymore, and they only watch the streamers.
Correct. We did a whole episode about this if you want to learn more about the strike.
Right. So we're Bethany Frankel, who you didn't watch the original, the old school Real Housewives of New York.
I've watched specific episodes that you told me to watch because, like, what was it? Scary Island.
Scary
or
Island.
something?
Everyone has to see
Yeah.
that.
So I know who she is.
Okay. Well, Bethany announced on Instagram, as she does everything. She's a very polarizing person. I could defend her as a creep. I can also defend her as not a creep. She equally is both things. She's a very extreme, loud personality. Now, when you want someone to be a zealot about something and really get passionate and get other people involved, she's great. But a lot of times she's just not great. She has a lot, she had a line called Skinny Girl. She has a very obsessive need to let's just not talk about her. Okay. Bethany, let's just say this. On Instagram, she announced that she wants reality people, contestants, cast, crews, whatever, to be able to get residuals, to get paid more money, and to have decent hours and not be abused. When you sign contracts for these shows, you just, they own your likeness and those episodes forever. So something that she signed in like 2005, she's like, they play this stuff all over the world. They repackage
and they
it.
own you.
And they own you. And a lot of places, they nowadays put in clauses like if you start a business, you have to give them 10% of your business. There's all kinds of things that, and these women, they become dependent on these paychecks because it wreaks havoc on their professional lives and their personal lives.
Right.
We have to kind of remember that. So Bethany is talking about something I think is really important. She's also somebody that likes to shit on people like Meghan Markle. She just, like I said, she's very polarizing, but she did get two top-notch lawyers, Mark Garagos and Brian Friedman. They sent a letter to NBC Universal and basically said that we're putting together a class action lawsuit and y'all better, gird your loins because it's going to be intense. And they're accusing, and this happens in shows, that they're working people awful hours so that they have like a lack of sleep. They encourage drinking. They encourage fighting. They encourage hookups. There are people that are basically like they have digital pornography that they use as revenge porn against you. They can do that because they have all this. So there's this whole, we've all been okay with things. And then we realize, and look, I'm part of the problem too. I watch the shows. I like the shows. I like talking about them. I love talking about this person is a garbage person and this person's a monster, but this one's a sweetheart, and it could change. That person can be all three things depending on the episode and depending on how they're edited and whatever. So I think it's important, especially after 15 years, that there is sort of this reckoning, and I hope that there are changes. I think there just needs to be more money going around to other people, except, not just the fat cats.
Well, and you think about something like, I'm thinking The Real World, which started in like 92 or something. They didn't really know what they were signing up for, and you just sign up and you do this thing and you sign this massive contract. I've mentioned this before on the show. My ex-husband, like at one point was like approached about signing on for The Real World in Los Angeles, and he was given a contract. It was massive, and he's like, and you're signing your life away. And he's like, I wasn't comfortable with it. He's like, so I didn't do it. And like, this was probably just in the like audition phase. So I can't even imagine what it looks like when you finally get on the show. But like, now people sign up and we all think they know what they're getting into. You know, they know what they're signing up for. And I'm not convinced they do.
No.
Not everyone's a lawyer who can like understand what these contracts are saying. And very often they are signing away so much money that they could be, because we have this thing like they go like Leah on Real Housewives of New York, the previous incarnation. Like she signs on, she wants to like promote, everyone's like, man, she just wants to promote her fashion brand or whatever. But then they probably now own like some of her fashion brand or something. It's bananas how much they sign away.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, they can use your image. They can use anything that you do in the show and just repackage it to be anything else. And especially with AI now, they could take their voices and have them say anything without their permission. There's a lot that you give up. I was talking to a voice actor yesterday, and he says it's kind of terrifying with the things that they're trying to get away with. So it was important that there's a show called Below Deck. There was the original, there's Below Deck Med, there's Down Under, and there's Adventure. I watched them all.
I only watched Down Under.
Because it's got Hot Jason.
Yeah, I do love the captain. He's a zaddy. Yes.
He's a hot zaddy, y'all. Okay, so now all these are in our show notes, by the way. I'm going to put all these links in the show notes. But we'll talk about this, and then we'll go into really the big topic today is The Biggest Loser. But I just wanted to talk about this because it's kind of this watershed moment, I think, on what's happening in the reality world. The show is about people that work on mega yachts. You know, sometimes they're smaller cruisers, sometimes they're bigger ones, but basically it's deck life. And you have a captain, you have your bosun, you have your chief stews, and then the whole thing is that people pay a lot of money to go on these cruises, and sometimes these people are trashy and just get drunk and are obnoxious, and sometimes they're amazing. The thing is, it's going on locations. You have a chef on the show. They're always making great foods, or are they? You know, the doofus they had last year from Philadelphia was a total jackass. But it's fun. I mean, it's travel, it's food, and it's workplace. It's about managing people. It's all this stuff. And a few years ago, Kate Chastain, who was on original Flavor of Below Deck, she was arrested in 2016 for having a fight with her girlfriend at the time. The charges were later dropped. And then the following year, or 2 years later, I'm just a little wonky on the timeline myself, but she was on season 7, I believe, and she was on the show with a guy named Ashton Pienaar. And it was a season where quite often the dudes are assholes on these shows. They just tend to be guys that get away with a lot. There's a lot of misogyny. There's the patriarchy involved with yachting. You know, it's mostly men that are captains, men that are working on the decks and things like that.
Right, and women working as the stews.
And their little squirts, and they have to be flirty to get tips. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on, and power imbalances and shit like that. And basically on the show, a lot of it is that on their nights off, they go in town, wherever town is, because they're sleep in these little cabins. I mean, there's half the size of my office. Like, they have no personal space. And they tend to get drunk and rowdy, and then they come back. And there was one show in particular, and I posted it in our show notes, but you can see this for yourselves, where Ashton and Kate and 2 other dudes were in a van together, all kind of drunk. And one of them was talking about talking to his mother that day. And then Kate said to Ashton, "Oh, how is your mother, Ashton?" And Ashton, for some reason, didn't like this question. And he turned around and he kind of raged at her. And then he sat there, and then he turned around and really was going to lunge at her. It's a van that they're sitting in, trying to hit her. And then the 2 drunken dudes put him aside, and then he starts punching the window in the van. When they're on these shows, there's production. Sometimes there's different producing houses for all the different locations. Right. I think what happened is whoever this location was, whoever's in charge, they were just told, don't ever interrupt action. Unless he actually hits her, don't interrupt. And that's somebody like, all right, that's my job. So she comes back to the ship, and her way of handling is she just leaves the ship that night. No one tells the captain what happened. She comes back the next day and she doesn't say anything. And she's like, I'm just going to handle this myself. And these guys get douchier and douchier throughout the season. And the problem is, like, the captain is getting tweeted at all season, like, why aren't you doing anything? He's like, I didn't know. No one told me. And someone should have told him. It shouldn't have just been put on her to do this. But even now on their website, I did a little clippage here. Ashton Pienaar gets in Kate Chastain's face after a question throws him into a rage. Ashton loses it when Kate talks about his mother. This is like the shittiest like copy here.
It's like also it makes it sound like she was like,
Provoking
your mother's
him.
a whore.
Right.
You know?
Your mama's a llama. Right. She's like insulting him. That's not what happened. She literally was just so anyway. And then when they get to, you know about Andy Cohen, when he does the recap at the end of the season, they have the reunions. He completely both sides did. And it's like, Kate, aren't you sometimes, bitchy to people? Aren't you a little passive aggressive? Like because turns out Ashton is really hot and Andy's like a horny gay guy who doesn't give a shit about Below Deck. So it's Watch What Crappens did an epic takedown of all this bullshit.
Yeah.
So what happened this past week is the Down Under show. They've only been a few weeks out, only like less than 2 weeks out in real time. But the crew goes out and they get drunk and then they come back to the boat. And there's a guy named Luke and there's a girl named Margot.
Yes.
And there's a girl named Laura, Luke and Laura. And so
weird.
Laura is this odd girl that like slept with him the first time they met each other, basically. And then she's been hanging on ever since, and he doesn't care about her. He just really wants Margot. So they go back to the ship. They're all drunk. And Margot's like, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm just going to have some water and go to bed. I'm wasted.
She's really drunk. Like she's like
really drunk.
Yeah, she's like passing out in the van on the way back. And yeah, she's made it very clear that she just wants to have water and go to bed. She's trashed.
She can't make any other choices. Like and so Aisha, who's our chief stew, puts her in bed and stays with her to make sure she's okay. Right?
Yeah.
And then she goes out to get some noodles just to eat something. And as Aisha leaves, like almost right away, the power goes out. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, what are we doing? The power's out. What are we doing? Luke, in his underwear, runs down the hallway and jumps into Margot's cabin and takes off his underwear and just tries to climb on top of her.
Yes.
And the first time ever, like the production crew stopped it. And maybe it was because it was actually on the boat and it's a different crew, but it's frightening. Yeah. And they don't give any warning about this.
No, there's no trigger warning on the episode. And what we see is so chilling. I keep using the word chilling when I'm describing it to people. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because he's on top of her.
Right.
He's making it very clear what he's going to be doing here, but he thinks it's because the power went out. So every room has these cameras.
Right.
The little room cameras aren't going to be on because the power went out. It's almost like, I'm sure he did not plan for the power to go out, but he clearly planned to take advantage of the fact that the power was out. And the producers or whatever, like, pound on the door and are like, no, like, interrupt him. And then he pretends like he's just going to go to sleep. And he, like, gets on the side. Like, he's just trying to get rid of the producers now so that he can keep doing what he's doing. It is horrifying to watch. It's because he's done it before.
It's not his first rodeo. That's what it feels like to me when I watch it.
No,
it's very predatory.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't harm her. Aisha threw him out. Like, the producers threw him out. He locks himself in his cabin. Aisha wakes up the captain. He immediately throws him off the boat. He fires him the next day. And then the Laura person we were talking about before, she was sexually harassing one of the deck crew, climbs into his bed and on top of him as the producers are yelling, get out. He doesn't want you here. You have to leave. and they're not, and she's not getting it. And horrible to say, like, she was taking Luke's side. Oh, I'm so sad he got fired. Why didn't they give him a second chance? Like, what second chance?
No.
Yeah.
No. And I think what's so amazing about these episodes are, first of all, I feel like we rarely see accountability
Right.
in reality shows. Like, and it's not a he said, she said, both sides thing. And the cameras were on and the cameras caught it. And it was like, no, we don't tolerate this. Not for a second. Fuck you. You're fired.
Right.
Like, I feel like that doesn't happen a lot on reality TV. I feel like things have happened on reality shows and you know damn well they filmed it, but they pretend they never show it and they give you this both sides thing. And they did not do this here. And it's almost sad that it's like such a big deal.
But it makes people think. I mean, just like you said, like what, and Margot said, like, if Aisha wasn't there and wasn't vigilant, like Aisha had to really like take care of everything.
Yes.
And this captain's a great captain. Like, he just was like, no, you have to lay the law down. You can't. I mean, he's breaking the law, by the way. Like, it's illegal to do what he's doing.
Yes.
So, and I don't know why he wasn't arrested, but.
Yeah, we were talking about that off mic. We're not sure why he wasn't arrested. But on top of all that, there's the discussions that happen after he's fired where Margot's like, maybe I was too flirty. I drank too much. And the chef says, like, no, like, this is not your fault. Women have just as, like, you're allowed to go out and get drunk. And if that's what you want to do without fear of someone hurting you.
Right.
And I so appreciate the discussions that happen after he is fired with the men, even the men on the boat who are just like, that dude's fucking trash. Fuck him.
Right.
Like, they're like, I would have kicked his ass if I had known.
And he did this to someone he likes, by the way.
Yes.
Like, how is he around women he doesn't like? I mean, it's
gross.
We know how, as women, we know guys that like try to be your friend, but it's only to, like, to get you in a vulnerable moment. And it's just a horrible part of growing up. And
yes.
Anyway, so that was an example, I want to say, like, especially nowadays, like them doing something about it, intervening, doing the right thing. And that's unfortunately why everyone's like, oh my God, someone's being good about this. Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah. So again, back to like real world Los Angeles, there was a whole thing where like one of the characters, like
David,
assaulted one of the women in the house, and like, and they didn't do shit about it. They just filmed it like it's a documentary, like it's a nature documentary, and they're not supposed to interfere or something. And it's like, they're humans.
Yeah, and Tammy and the women had to then say, we want him out because they don't feel safe. And and then the dudes were still kind of like, oh, but I feel bad for David. He was just joking
should give
around.
him another chance. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, the number of chances shitty people think they deserve. Yes. I mean, it's just like, all right. So speaking of all this, we're going to be going to the main subject here today, which we're going to be talking about a show that, honestly, I didn't realize was an international sensation until I mentioned in the Facebook group, but that's The Biggest Loser. And apparently there were versions of it in Australia, overseas. I didn't know about that.
I did know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was that. I didn't know that it was like such a huge hit. I have not watched an entire episode of The Biggest Loser. I've seen clips, but I knew it was a huge hit.
Yeah, it started in 2004 and it ran off and on until 2016. My background, by the way, is I was a fitness instructor for about 10 years, and part of that time was when the show was on the air. I used to co-host a fitness podcast. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed all these people that are the trainers on the show. I've met all these people at events. So this was a juggernaut. This was a big freaking deal. It was also something debated in the health and fitness world. You would never, I mean, constantly you would get students thinking that, well, let's just talk about the show. The show is a 30-week competition, which I forgot like how long this freaking competition is. But at the height of their popularity, they had 200,000 people apply.
Wow.
You needed to be considered obese, highly obese, in order to be in the show. So the bigger you were, the better your chance was, because the whole thing was, the show was, you were competing to lose weight. You were competing with teams, and then at the end, you're just competing for yourself. And the person who loses the most weight plus body mass percentage wins. And at its height, the winning prize was $250,000, which is life-changing money for people.
Yes.
It will, help you out. But in order to get there, they first are visited with a doctor, and then they have trainers working with them. Jillian Michaels and Bob Harper were the most famous ones.
I know her. His name is not familiar.
Bob Harper, he was a big sex symbol. Also, we should say, I didn't watch it that much either, just because, like, this is my day job, and I didn't want to watch people crying
you're like,
about their diets. Like, I deal with that already. Like, I just But he's sexy. He does have mojo about him. I've heard different things personally. I've always had good interactions with him, but he could be salty. Let's just say.
Got it.
Okay. He also, by the way, if you watched The Soup, and you and I were both big fans of The Soup.
Oh yes,
Joe McCrae.
This is where I saw Joel McHale.
Sorry.
Was it Aisha Tyler? Tyler. Sorry, she hosted for a little while. This is actually probably where I saw the most clips from The Biggest Loser.
They love The Biggest Loser show because So Jillian Michaels, by the way, who had really her credits for fitness, her accreditations, blah. I way outdo her. I mean, I was a stupid spin instructor, but I had like my top NASM and all that crap.
You are not a stupid spin instructor. You are a spin instructor.
There's some people who disagree with you, but fuck them. Anyway.
It's right.
That's my past life. Anyway, so the trainers take these people, and the whole thing is, it already starts with, there's this epidemic of fatness in the world, and it costs this much money. It's trillions of dollars that it costs us. The way the fat shaming goes, like right from the start, fat people are a problem. Fat people hate themselves. Fat people have no confidence. Fat people need to get yelled at to get out of their fat state. And that's going to change it. And that's going to change your mind. It's going to change your focus. It's going to, they just turned this, like they did everything else, into a game show. And this is, the problem is that you have actual human fucking beings. And it turns out a lot of these tactics that they use were super harmful. And they're still studying this stuff, but we'll get into that. Let me just give you my my sources real quick. And once again, everything's in the show notes. We're not making any of this shit up. And I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything that I don't know about, because I don't want to get sued. Okay.
Yes.
There's the basic Biggest Loser Wikipedia page, The Atlantic, 2 articles from the New York Times, The Guardian, New York Post, KQED, Distractify, People. We love our People magazine. Nikki Swift, Cracked. ET Online, and a website I used to love, Breaking Muscle. Jillian Michaels, she was such a laughing stock for a while there, because she had these workouts that sold. These people had workouts and DVDs and cookbooks and workout everything that sold like crazy. But she had terrible form. And she just, like, she's doing this kettlebell swing that's like, I put it in the Facebook group. It's the lunacy involved. But what they did with people is they put them in T-shirts and bike shorts. Like, they had these basic outfits. And then they were on these treadmills, and they were forced to do lunges. They're forced to do push-ups. And the first couple of weeks of the show, it's just people crying and throwing up. They work people so bad that they're vomiting.
That's awful.
And the way the show is edited, we're kind of supposed to laugh about it, you know?
Ha ha. That's what you get, fatty.
Right.
That's what you get.
There are clips of Jillian Michaels saying like, "I love that I made him throw up. I love that," and her shtick was, "I'm the hot chick that doesn't take crap, so I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to say 10 more of this, 10 more of that, 10 more." The person vomits and then she walks over and touches his hair. She's like, "I'm just doing this because I love you. I just want you to be okay. I just want you to be healthier." They always bring up these people, their families. All these people are like, "My kids, I'm going to die before I see my daughter grow up." Like all of this, like, sure, reasonable things to worry about, but we all should worry about that. Like, you should just enjoy life anyway because no one's getting out alive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, and like, there's a difference between like being healthy and being strong and taking care of yourself and like pushing yourself like that to where you vomit. That's not okay. That's not normal. That's not healthy.
No.
That's not good exercise. And you're
No.
teaching people the like no pain, no gain that is like such bullshit. Like,
If you ever want to see people hurting and walking like they're twice the age that they are, look at athletes, especially football players. Their backs, ankles, knees, I mean, it's a fucking mess. To also be, when you have 200 plus pounds and then running with that. I mean, I have a friend that, by the way, he has a book out. He's called 300 Pounds in Running, and he's a big dude that runs, and he can do it fine, but it took him years to train to that. You can be big and run. You can be big and be sexy. Like Lizzo's, we talked about Lizzo.
You could be big and healthy.
Yes.
By the way,
No one believes that, but it's true.
Yeah. Whenever people are bigger, when people are overweight, I love that people are then like so fucking worried about their health. I was like, fuck off. Like, you're not worried about their health. You want to fat shame them is what it is. Like, you could go and like get all, by the way, I'm overweight. I could go and get the blood work. My blood work is immaculate, y'all. Just, it is like, so fuck off.
Yeah. I know people, I used to be really into cycling, and there was like a fat cyclist club, and they could do hills better than me. They could do everything better than me. I mean, I know skinny people that got diabetes. I know skinny people that get sick.
It's just
technically BMI, which is body mass index, and which is a total crock of shit, by the way. Nobody really believes in that stuff. But believe it or not, and this is like what's finding out in science, people with a higher BMI rather than on the lower scale live longer. Skinny people have also problems with their hips and their knees at a certain age. That just happens. That's just life.
It's just getting older, y'all.
That's all that is.
It's just getting older.
And I am a big proponent of exercise. Sonia will tell you, like, if I don't get my workout or my walk in, I'm a nightmare. Like, I'm a high energy person. But that's why I do it. I do it because I have the energy to burn, and it helps me think, and it helps me.
Yes.
When I love teaching, because a lot of times it's like that 1 hour a person can have to themselves.
Yes, exactly.
They're in
on the
meetings
flip
all day.
side, I'm the opposite. I'm a lazy piece of shit.
You're not a lazy piece of shit. But you have your treadmill, and you have you live in San Francisco. You're walking up hills all the times and shit.
I walk the dogs, stuff like that. I have my stuff. I do.
But it's always been decided like, well, it's all it is calories in versus calories out. And I'm here to tell you, like, there's a difference between 1,000 calories of a chicken and broccoli dish. You'd have to eat a lot, and 1,000 calories of a banana split or something. Like, one's good for you, one isn't. One will make
banana
doesn't that sound good from Dairy Queen? Oh, that sounds good. Anyway, focus.
Yes.
So these people first are pushed way beyond their abilities.
Right.
And it makes for great television. It makes for really, like, people are crying, people are vomiting.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
It's dramatic.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, nobody wants it, but they're not getting into, a lot of people also have binge eating disorders, and skinny people can have it. Fat people can have it. Like, we all have our shit, by the way. We all
this
have
one right here. Yep.
We all have our shit, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just
Everybody
does. But the thing with weight is people can see that. So they feel, and it's also been made okay for people to say something, which I come from the school, it isn't. Everyone has mirrors.
Right.
People know when their clothes don't fit. They don't need me to tell them.
Yes.
If anybody
Yes.
wants my advice, I'm happy to give it, but I don't. Just don't do that.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't comment on people's weight either way. You've lost a shit ton of weight. It's not my business.
No.
They could be sick.
It could be sick, or sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable because they didn't realize how big they were, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's people.
It's not my.
Your body changes.
Yes.
Your body changes throughout your life. That's just the way
Yes.
life is. On this show, though, fat people are presented like they are sexless, that they have no self-esteem, they have no ability to love themselves, and they've got some deep issues that if you just beat the shit out of them, they'll confront it and it'll change their lives forever. It
makes me so sad.
It's so fucking infuriating. And so digging back into this, it really got to me. So I was doing like the research, and they had things like they called it they had like everything was like a challenge and a reward. Like, and I when I was first teaching, I used to say things like, "Hey, we'll do this, and then we'll all go to brunch and have some drinks." Ha ha ha. I realize now, like, that's part of the problem. Like, just treating everything like a treat and a reward, and you have to punish yourself to enjoy something good. And everybody goes, "Oh, it's all about balance." Fuck off. It's just, those are empty words people say, and it just I just find it trite, and it's why I don't really like the industry anymore, because it just that type of mentality doesn't work for me. They have like the weigh-ins, and the weigh-ins, they made the women had to keep their bra tops on. They could not wear a t-shirt or a tank top. They had to wear the bra tops.
Why?
Because who wants to wear a bra top when you're on a show like that? You want to wear a t-shirt, you want to cover yourself up because you don't feel good about your body. So that adds to the whole thing. And then they put you on a scale, and there is some controversy here because over the years people have said, well, they say that they're weighing them every week, and it turns out they weren't. Sometimes it was every 3 weeks. Sometimes it was every few days. It just was the production schedule. These people, by the way, they signed away their lives, and then they were gone for like 3 or 4 weeks. And they took their laptops, their phones, not allowed to contact your family. There was one guy that was on the show. His kid was in the ICU. And they said, you can go home if you want. And he didn't want to go home because he didn't want to leave the show because he wanted to win the money. And he didn't wind up winning. I know.
Oh my God, that's awful. Because he probably really needed the money. He was like, this money's going to change our lives, blah, blah, blah. Like,
well, everyone wants to be the winner. You don't want to be the one that was crying and then got released the first week. Like, what is more pathetic than that? Or feels like it would be.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the first person eliminated on any challenge show.
Yeah,
Project
well,
Runway
also,
or whatever.
Yeah, you went through all this shit to like get on the show. You've done a week of the challenges or whatever. Also, again, taking away your phone, your laptops, you start spending all your time with this the show becomes your life, and surely that's going to mess with your head.
Speaking of messing with your head, Sonia, they had a whole thing about dealing with confronting all of your demons, meaning food. Because there's good food and bad food. So they would do things like lead them into a room, and then the room was full of Chinese food. The fried rice and the wontons. And they're all, we all do that for good reason. The shit's delicious. There's nothing better than fried rice. I just had some the other day, and my mind went, thank you. My body was very happy. They do that all the time. They had locker rooms with people's names on it, and then they had on there the foods that were their problem. Pizza or ice cream, cookies, potato chips, like whatever your thing was, they would try to confront you with that. There was different ways of doing it every season.
Yeah.
Which is so fucked up. I mean, and a lot of these people...
feels so icky to me.
It gets worse, so just hang in there with me. They first started with Caroline Ray as the host. Adorable Caroline
I remember
Ray.
her.
I like her a lot. And she was chirpy and fun. But for some reason, they only used her for a few seasons. And then they brought in Allison Sweeney. She's done a lot of Hallmark movies. I worked with her.
She was on like Days of Our Lives or something, right?
Yeah.
Or All My Children or one of those.
Yeah.
No, it had to be like Days of Our Lives. 'Cause
It was Days.
NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she was on this show and that show at the same time, and she got married and she had a kid. Also, Jillian was famous for telling women like they used pregnancy as an excuse and that they had no, She apologized when she had 2 kids of her own. Like her wife at the time had a baby, and they adopted a baby within like 10 months of each other. And she was like, "You were right. This is not like I barely have time to work out. Like it's
Y'all, pregnancy's no joke.
it's rough on your body. Y'all.
You're growing a full ass human being in your body. Like, it takes it out of you physically, it takes it out of you emotionally. Your hormones are bananas.
right.
Let's all stop pretending like pregnancy's natural. It's totally fine. It's fucking hard work. I only did it once.
Yeah, I don't know how my mom did it. Like all throughout the 60s and 70s, my mom had a bunch of kids. I don't.
What
yeah,
are
no,
these
thank you.
people that are having 4 or 5 kids? You weirdos. No, I'm kidding. Do you. But
Yeah,
that's hard work.
it's hard work. She was a big proponent of like, what's your excuse? You're using excuses, and I don't like that. Bob's whole thing is, I'm the wicked gay guy that I'm just gonna be nasty. And Bob was my favorite, and Bob Harper became a spokesperson. But it was all about taking these super overweight. Have you ever worked out with a weighted vest? Like gone for a walk with a weighted vest?
Not a weighted vest, but when I was in high school, I used to wear the ankle weights, jog on the little trampoline.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, I was pretty hardcore in high school. I used to do aerobics every day, like the 80s, like Jane Fonda shit.
Yeah.
I was very, very obsessed with my weight when I was in high school. Like, I only had Diet Pepsi for lunch, and I did aerobics every day. And, if I like ate a shit ton of ice cream, then that meant I had to ride my bike for like 4 hours. I was very, very hard on myself.
Women are still too hard on themselves, and we're still faced with this.
I'm still like that. Still. And I talk about this in my therapy all the time, that if women could take the energy, the mental energy we spend on food and eating and weight and channel it back out into the world, we would have solved all the world's problems by now. Like, we're constantly beating ourselves up about this stuff.
And we make some inroads, and then there's certain people that just don't like to see those inroads. And it's not just men, but Jordan Peterson is like one of them.
Yeah.
Like, he sees a magazine with a beautiful full-figured woman on there, and he loses his goddamn mind. There are also some women that are totally into the patriarchy and just want to keep that thinness, that whiteness, that very specialness about you, that you're also a mom and you're also right.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. I talk about it a little bit in our Substack about the idea of there's these people that like they really like the fact that sometimes it's because they're white. They're like, this is my power. I'm white, so I need to suppress others who aren't white so I can have that power. It's the same with weight. It's like, I work out to be skinny. How dare you be fat and happy? How dare you? I can't be fat and happy. I have to be skinny and unhappy. And so do you. And they hate it. It makes them so mad. And I think we're seeing a pushback on that now from people. And that's why there's a lot of loud voices about weight always. But I feel like that's part of the body positivity movement. And then you see this pushback from people that are just like, well, I think you're gross. Well, I don't care what you think. How dare you not care what I think?
I like the body neutrality movement, like just having no...
How about it's none of your business?
Right. It's none of your fucking business. It's between me and my doctor. It's, you don't know people who drink too much. You don't know people who smoke when they're at home or other dangerous activities, and nobody scolds them. Everybody, it's just what's visible to people is what they feel completely comfortable in commenting on. And stop it. Just cut the shit out. Stop it. And when you have friends that are talking about it that way, like change the subject, like move it towards the positive, because everyone has good things about them and beautiful qualities, and we should just be focusing on that versus the song Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. Like we need to all live that way. But going back to the show, they put you on these big scales, and if you only lost 4 pounds, you're going to get a scolding. That's, by the way, and let me just say this also, that's about the right amount of weight. I mean, you really shouldn't lose more than that, but that's a lot of weight to lose at one time.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, when I've done Weight Watchers in the past, because I have absolutely done Weight Watchers, I feel like it was like 1 or 2 pounds a week.
Yeah.
And that was eating within like a normal amount of calories and, you know, exercising.
My the guy that used to be our exterminator, he was the exterminator in my building for almost 20 years. And I didn't see him for a few months, and then one day he showed up and he looked so much older and so much tinier. He was a big guy. And it turned out he had a heart attack. And it was like the Widowmaker. Like it's the one that's a real serious one.
Yeah.
And this happens quite a bit, and this is a warning to all of you, that a lot of people, when they have that heart attack, they really get on they're scared shitless to have another one. So they like, I need to lose weight. I need to be healthier. And then they get so obsessed with that. They lose too much weight in a short amount of time. And that's just as stressful on your heart.
Yeah.
Losing a lot of weight puts a lot of stress on your body. So you need to do it gently, because it's just better for your body, and you're more likely to keep, if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but I'm just saying it's not a great idea. But on the show, that doesn't get you ratings. That doesn't get people interested. They want to see
not gonna
20
win.
pounds.
You're not going to win.
You're not going to win. They want to see 11 pounds, 12 pounds. They want to see a big change, a metamorphosis. Then what the show does is you're there at the ranch, and they have some people that are good enough to make it to the ranch, and some people, they just send them home. That became a new thing. So some people stay for like 12 weeks at the ranch. Some people get 2 weeks and they get sent home. But there's a certain amount of time after the ranch where you go home and you work out on your own, and then you come back for the real weigh-in. Like, what could you do while you were at home? And there was one of the women said, she said, like, I don't have a big food budget. She's like, I was broke. I go to the ranch, and I never ordered seafood before because I could never afford it. And she says, turns out I really love Chilean sea bass. So she comes home, and she's working out, and she goes to the store and says, hi, I'd like 4 of the Chilean sea bass, please. And they're like, are you sure? It's like $87.
Oh,
yeah.
So expensive.
It's so fucking expensive. It's expensive, too, to eat that healthy. Whole Foods is called Whole Paycheck for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's food deserts. There's places where you don't have a lot of fresh fruit and things like that. So there's just all kinds of reasons. Anyway, so the person that wins, and they've done everything. They've had people who were twins. They've had married couples. They've had families. They've had people who've come back. It's all these things over the years, and it's always kind of the same thing. One person wins, and then all the balloons go off, and it's like Dancing with the Stars, and they go on all the shows, and they are like, yeah, I'm so committed to my healthy lifestyle. And let me say this. Many people did the show, enjoyed it. There was some sort of connection for them. They did lose some weight, and they were able to kind of like take up new habits. And they turned out like, I always thought I hated exercise, but I like doing this, or I love, or it turns out I'm a pretty good cook. I didn't know it. Yeah. Usually on the show, and this, if I remember, there was a whole race at the end. There's a race at the beginning, which is 1 mile. And if you are super out of weight and 300 pounds, running a mile, not a great idea. You are going to really fuck yourself up. And then at the end, and I forget if it's a half marathon or a full marathon, but they do a whole run at the end. And it's fun to watch the people kind of see themselves transformed. Yeah. Once again, though, you're in this specialized environment.
Yes.
So it's very hard to repeat that or, replace that in your life when the cameras are gone and you don't have Jillian yelling at you until you throw up.
And you have to go back to your real life. You have to you're back to caring for your children, going to work, going to school, whatever it is you're doing. And you have to balance. You're not as there's not that single-mindedness about your weight in the real world. You can't just sit around and think about.
it's not
that.
feasible because
No,
these
how do you
people-
function?
I mean, I guess they got some sort of stipend to like, because there was one guy that did win one year, and he worked outdoors. He had some sort of outdoorsy kind of job, and when he came home to train, he quit that job, and I guess he had some sort of a stipend because he said that they were working out 5, 6, 7 hours a day, sometimes 8 hours a day. And when they went home, this guy said, I'd get up at 5 a.m., I'd run for 45 minutes, I'd have some breakfast, I do a little bit of work, then I work out at lunch, and then I do something, and then I run at dinner time. Like, it was
It's not
all day.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. They were taking, these people are just eating like asparagus and sugarless Jell-O. It's like just to not drink as much water. There were times where there were sponsorships for things, and people had to be on camera like, we're sponsored by milk, and then they drink the milk, and then they had to spit it out because their trainers would say there's too many calories.
Oh my God.
They had to deal with Subway. These people, by the way, these shows made a shitload of money just from the ads, not to mention the products and the sponsorships, like with Subway, like they had Jared Fogle, who we talked about in a past episode.
Yes.
So these people are like unpaid, sponsors for these people. And they have to, like, you have to take this. I can't believe it's not butter spray. It should be thrown in the trash. But anyway.
I'm like, I have that spray because I use it on my popcorn.
Oh, because you don't eat dairy.
I don't eat dairy. Yes.
All right, I'll take it back then.
No, it's ridiculous. You really can believe that it's not butter.
It's chiffon. No, it's not.
Parquet.
Butter. Anyway, so The Biggest Loser, Second Chances was a big hit in 2014. But this was the year that a woman named Rachel Fredrickson won, and Rachel went from 250 pounds to 105 pounds. Like maybe it's like 150 to 105 pounds. She lost a tremendous amount of weight.
Wow, that's a lot of weight. Okay.
And she was 105 when she got on her scale, and she's one of the first women to win. She looked so skeletal and tired, dehydrated. To me, like, she looked really dehydrated. Like, that's somebody that needs a glass of water now.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that even like Bob and Jillian had a look on their faces like, holy shit, like, this has gone too far. This is. And she said later that she gained like 20 pounds in a week, like when she was off the show, because it's like I said, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of like, what the fuck is this show about? It was a huge deal on social media.
Yeah.
A lot of people wrote about it. And then Jillian leaves, and Jillian Michaels had another show, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like Jillian Does America.
Oh my God. It was called Losing It.
No. Well, was it Losing It? Where she goes around the country?
I remember one night watching that
There's a movie called Losing It with Tom Cruise.
I feel like she did a show called Losing It, and here, rando story alert. Sorry, everybody.
Go for it.
Back when I was just vegetarian, I went out one night with some friends. We went dancing. I did some drinking, and I came home and I ate my then husband's leftover sloppy joes while watching Losing It with Jillian Michaels at like 2 a.m. Woke up the next morning and went, oh my God, I got so drunk last night, I forgot I was a vegetarian, and ate David's sloppy joes.
Was David mad?
No, because David was traveling, so he wasn't there to defend his sloppy joes. But it is still a joke that sometimes some friends of mine bring up. Remember that time Sonia drank so much she forgot she was a vegetarian?
Did you ever hear the Lunch Lady song by Adam Sandler?
Sloppy
Joe, sloppy
Joe.
Joes. I loved a sloppy Joe when I was a kid.
By the way, I still love I don't eat meat, and I don't eat meat, but like, you can make a vegan sloppy Joe and that shit is delicious. The manwich sauce, so good.
The season after this, it was 2016 when the show finally ended. And they've been through a bunch of trainers and they've tried everything, but kind of the formula is getting kind of stale. And and what's happening now is that original contestants are starting to show up back in the media and said, guess what? I gained all the weight back. Or I gained a bunch of weight back.
Yeah, because again,
it's not sustainable.
You can't live and breathe this all the time. Like, you can't. You have to live your life.
That's when a former contestant named Joelle Gwynn, 2016, told People magazine and the New York Post that she was given some pills by the trainers and that they made her feel jittery and hyper.
Amphetamines.
Yeah. And Jillian was kind of wonky to some people because she loved to talk about caffeine pills, and they're just caffeine pills and they just help you burn fat. And like, you're making people hyper to like work out harder. The show I was thinking of, though, Losing It, there was one episode what she would do is she would move into somebody's house and like for a month change the whole family. And the episode that like made me so enraged and still makes me mad when I think about it is that she went to a home in Arizona, and it was an indigenous family that lived on a reservation. And she was so fat shamey and so shamey about the food that people ate. And how do they eat this stuff? It's all fat and salt and cheese. I'm like, do you know what these people have fucking been through? Like, for generations? Yeah. We did a whole episode, by the way, about the indigenous schools in North America. I mean, so judgmental. She's the one that was like shitting on Lizzo for her weight, like just like a year ago.
Yeah, it's like, fuck off. Again, not your business.
Now, Dolvet Quince, Bob Harper, all the trainers said, never, 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 didn't do that. NBC said, never, 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 we test people so that people aren't taking any drugs. So I'm not going to say. I'm just saying there were accusations. I wasn't there. Once again, though, it's not filming that we're watching. We're just seeing what they show us, what they want us to see. It's highly, highly edited. But there are all these stories that are coming out about how people felt abused by the process and that they were having really fucked up thoughts. Like when they left, they became just obsessive about every pound. And for most of them, and if you do starve yourself and dehydrate yourself enough, you'll get real skeletal, but you'll gain that weight super fast second you try to eat normally.
They were training people they were giving them eating disorders.
It feels like it. I mean, I'm sure that was no one's intention.
Yeah.
But the byproduct was, and they don't get a lot of money to be on these shows, and they use their images forever. They use it in all the marketing materials. These, men and women looking sad, like all overweight, and like you can't be like Lizzo and like, keep mentioning Lizzo, even though Lizzo's problematic right now. But you can't just have that like, be Ashley Green or Ashley Graham.
Yes,
the model, but
Ashley Graham. Yeah,
you can't. No, you have to always be a sad sack. And there were people who were like, this person I hooked up. We had a relationship, and they wouldn't show it because we were a couple of fatties, and they didn't think that was sexy to the audience. They try to make these people look so pathetic. They were working them morning, noon, and night. They were telling people, spit out that milk. Don't eat that. Don't have this. The doctor would say, you're low in electrolytes. Have this drink with the electrolytes in it. And they would say, don't drink that. It's sugar. And it's like, sometimes you need sugar. Sometimes you need salt. Yeah. Like, these are all okay things, So the show is accused of all of this stuff. And this is in 2016. And it just they never announce a new season. And years go by. And there's no they never officially cancel it until they brought it back. And this was in 2020. And Bob Harper, but this time they were on the USA Network. They were no longer on NBC. Okay. So it's like this lower level network. And I guess it did fine. Bob, by the way, had a huge life happening. Bob was at the gym one day with his pet dogs. He has these little dogs. And he has a massive heart attack at the gym. Ooh. And the dog was there. Like, the dog saw it, and the dog stayed with him. But the manager of the gym had one of those defib machines, and learn how to use a defibrillator. That will save someone's life. and they got to him right away, and that's the only reason he's alive.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
And he goes to the hospital, and it turns out he has this heart condition. And this is when he has this revelation. He becomes a vegan. He changes his workouts. He changes his attitude about health.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm more into yoga now. I'm not going to beat up my body. I'm not going to, like, he has this whole thing. But then he hosts this show again. And it's all about, we're all about holistic health now, wellness. We're all about wellness. They still weigh people. They still like make them compete for that. But as I said, like some people, so there's this big study that happens in the New York Times. Also, let's flip back also just real quickly to 2016. And there's a reporter that's really interested in all these stories from The Biggest Loser. Like, why did so many people fail? Because most diets fail. Like 99% of diets don't work. And sorry, they just don't. And so this reporter just took the stance of, let's just talk to people who are on Biggest Loser and then look at them. And they did. They took them to the National Health Institute for a few weeks. And it was a small study. I think it was under 20 people. Certainly that's not something that you can change all things for. But it's an interesting conversation to have. These are unique circumstances. But without question, like most of them, their metabolisms were just reduced to nothing. Their bodies were just so irregulated that they, even if you gained all this weight and you only ate like 1,200 calories a day, it still wasn't enough with your workout to lose weight. You're still going to just gain weight because your body doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Wow.
People had thyroid issues. People had knee and back issues. There was one woman who they didn't know how, their doctor's like, I don't know how you walk. She had shin splints that were so bad. There was a woman who had a torn calf muscle and was told she had to run. And the doctor that she met with there said, you can't run. You have a torn calf muscle. And they edited the show to make her look like she's a whiny asshole for not running.
That's fucking terrible.
And she's the kind of person that later on gave one of her kidneys to a total stranger. Like she's that kind of a decent human being.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah. Anyway, so the show comes back in 2020. I guess it doesn't do very well because, I mean, even during COVID, nobody was watching it. So I don't know if they're ever bringing it back again. But I'm kind of glad it's gone. I'm glad that we have a supposedly healthier attitude about these things. But that's my story today. That's Below Deck Down Under and also The Biggest Loser.
Good job, Margot. That was a lot.
It was a lot. And I'm sorry if it got a little...
No, I think this is super interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, we could do a whole separate episode about like health and and we've talked about things like goop and stuff like that. So this is just like such a juicy topic.
And
I have lots of thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, there's two New York Times clips, and the one that shows up first in the list is from 2016. It's a really interesting study about all these people, like I said, who gained the weight back, and then the doctors found out like his body was burning like 400 calories less per day than it would for a normal person his size.
Wow.
He just had screwed up his body so much. Thyroids were screwed up. Hormones were screwed up. Like everything. It's not healthy. You just, I hate the word balance, but you kind of just not be so rigid and not be so strict. I mean, you do need to feed your body. It does need nourishment.
Yes.
Enjoy your
That's
food,
a good way
man.
of putting it.
Yeah.
Food is delicious, as Jack Black in School of Rock.
Yes.
He's like, I'm also chubby. It's all because I like to eat.
I'm also sexy.
Sexy. Do you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Please.
Okay, you already know who I'm going to talk about. She is often cited as the pioneer of female rap, one of the best female rappers. Queen Latifah isn't just a rapper. She's a singer, actress, talk show host, producer, business owner. She's a full-on mogul, y'all. She's won Grammys, Golden Globes, Screen Actors Guild Awards, and Emmy. She was nominated for an Oscar for Chicago, and she's been cited as an influence on so many like R&B, soul, hip hop artists, Eve, DeBrat, Lil' Kim, Lauryn Hill, Missy Elliott, Naughty by Nature, even like Megan Thee Stallion, Keke Palmer, Vin Diesel. Even Vin Diesel says that like Queen Latifah is
She's dope.
like she's dope. Lin Manuel Miranda cited her as she inspired the portrayal of Angelica in Hamilton, which I love. And the Vogue editor Janelle Okwadu. I'm
Okay.
sorry, everyone. I had to take it very slow to do it right. She considers Queen Latifah an icon. She said she helped start a conversation about body image that continues to this day, and credited her as one of the first artists that pioneered the climate of size inclusivity and muses of all shapes. So like Lizzo, who again is problematic right now, and we talked about her in the bonus episode. Before Lizzo, there was Queen Latifah. So I have a quote.
Who
here
you
from
calling
Queen
a
Latifah.
bitch?
Who you
Love Queen Latifah.
I can't imagine. She says, "I can't imagine myself dropping 50 or 60 pounds, getting ripped, and then maintaining that. Not only is it not going to be natural to who I am, it's not going to be fun. You're not going to like me because I might be angry."
She, by the way, was like, her partner was a trainer, like a very famous trainer for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah,
she's like,
so-
yeah, that you do you, boo.
Yes.
Smooches, bye.
Queen Latifah, also her real name,
Dana.
Dana Elaine Owens. She was born March 18th, 1970 in Newark, New Jersey. As a teenager, she was really into beatboxing. She joined a hip hop group called Ladies Fresh. She was one of the original members of Flavor Unit. A demo was sent to Fab Five Freddy from Yo MTV Raps. And when the demo got to him, he sent it on to Tommy Boy Music, and she was signed to a contract. She was 18.
Yeah.
18 years old. She was just a baby. And in 1989, she released her first single, which is called Wrath of My Madness. She changed her name because she said her mother told her that every woman should be a queen. And she picked Latifah because it means delicate, sensitive, kind, nice in Arabic. And she just always liked the way it sounds. And early hip hop, a lot of it was about like dance, it was like dance stuff, but there was also this kind of like gangsta rap, that sort of thing. But her raps were really about like issues surrounding women, specifically Black women, and also just things about like domestic violence, harassment, and relationship problems. She did the song "Ladies First" with Monet
Ladies
Love.
first. Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Ooh,
It's the
ladies
first-
Ladies first. I'm sorry.
By the way, I'll mention the documentary series at the end, but I added so many songs to my playlist. That's the first collaborative track by two female rappers, not in a group, to like get on the charts. She founded her own entertainment company. She called it Flavor Unit in 1995. And some of their past clients were Monica, Outkast, Faith Evans, SWV, and Naughty by Nature.
Mm-hmm.
She performed at the Super Bowl in 1998, and she was the first rapper to do so. 98 is
Not surprised.
no rappers before that. Isn't that bananas? And then at some point she got into acting, right? So she did like House Party 2 and Jungle Fever. Her older brother Lancelot was killed in a motorcycle accident in 92, and she had bought him the motorcycle.
She never got over that.
And she often was wearing the key to that motorcycle around her neck. So if you ever watched her show Living Single, which is a really, really good
Great show.
You could see the key in a lot of, because it ran from like 93 to 98. So yes, she did the movie Set It Off. She had her own talk show, which is when Margot crossed paths with Queen Latifah. And Margot has told me that she was very, very kind.
Yes.
When you
And her voice is beautiful, and she always wanted to play Bessie Smith. So I was
Yes.
really excited when she did that.
Yes, and she is like someone who can rap and sing.
And act.
It's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
and act.
did.
She's she's so good in Chicago. We did an episode of Dorking Out about Chicago. I loved her as Mama Morton. She's so good, and I love that song "When You're Good to Mom." Her version is so great. For a long time, she didn't address like any speculations about her sexuality, and in 2008, the New York Times just flatly asked her, and she said, "I don't feel the need to share my personal life, and I don't care if people think I'm gay or not." And then in 2021, she gets a Lifetime Achievement Award from the BET Awards. And at the end, she like recognizes her partner and their child together. And then she just throws up two fingers and says, "Peace, happy pride."
Aww,
Like, which is like how she like, yeah, where she like, this is where she like first like officially like comes out. She was like, "It's not your business."
It's also the culture she was in. It's very
Yes.
homophobic, and she's the only woman with a lot of, and it's, I understand. I have empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so she became, by the way, she was the first rapper, male or female, to win that BET Lifetime Achievement Award. She became the first female hip hop recording artist to get an Oscar nomination. In 2006, she became the first hip hop artist to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's currently on a show called The Equalizer on CBS.
I haven't seen that. I need to watch it.
I know. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, I'm gonna put this shit on my list. She's only the fifth Black woman to star in an hour-long drama on network TV. And I was just like, come on, networks, do better.
Yeah.
So I want to put, she's 53 years old. She's doing The Equalizer. Like, she's fucking like kicking in doors, and like there's some action in the show. And I was like, 53 and she's doing that kind of thing. And by the way, men do this kind of thing too. I'm not like, oh, and she's a woman or whatever. But then I was like, how old was Angela Lansbury when she started doing Murder, She Wrote? She was 58.
Oh my goodness.
She was 58 when she started. Can you, again, like, think of the Golden Girls, right? We were like, look at those old biddies all living together. They're like 56.
I always say people, Quint in Jaws, Robert Shaw was like 47. I'm not even kidding. Look that shit up. 47, that old man of the sea.
This is wild.
Yeah.
It's just wild
Well,
how
she
age
takes
has
care of
changed.
herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She has her own line of cosmetics through CoverGirl called the Queen Collection. She's got it's something called her Queen Collective. It's a partnership with Procter and Gamble, and they provide funding for female filmmakers. And according to People magazine, she personally mentors a lot of the people that are in that program. During COVID, she like was partnered up with the American Lung Association to raise funds to like help like Black and Latino communities. Let's see, what else did she do? She's part of this group called It's Bigger Than Me, and it's an organization about like open, honest, and shame-free conversations about obesity. And then I love this quote that I saw from her, and this is where I'll end it. She said, "It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing on the red carpet. I'm going to shine regardless. If I feel good, I'm going to glow, and it doesn't matter what I'm wearing or what size I am. The energy is going to come out." And I just think that that's like, yeah,
That's
she's
rad.
like, I don't care what other people are doing. She's like, because I'm a fucking star, baby. I'm gonna glow. And I love Queen Latifah. And
she's the best.
I have been on a hip hop kick lately, and I've been watching the Hip Hop Collection on the Criterion Channel, and then I watched Ladies First, a story about women in hip hop, and Queen Latifah is in there, and she gives some great insights, and
she's really smart, and she's just one of my favorite things I did was I took her on a day of interviews around New York, and one of them was Z100, which it's like the morning zoo here.
Yeah.
And it's in Jersey City. And so we get there, and she does the interview, and then she goes downstairs from the station, and she goes into the McDonald's to get some breakfast. The look on people's faces when they say Queen Latifah, it's priceless. Everybody loves her.
Yeah.
She just glows. Like, everyone just is so excited to see her.
Yes.
It was just so much fun.
I love her, and I recently discovered the movie Last Holiday with LL Cool J is like her romantic interest, and she's someone who is misdiagnosed as having like a terminal brain disease. She does not have it, but she thinks she's going to die. So she decides to like blow all of her money on this like really fancy holiday. I love this movie. I watch it even when it's not during the holidays.
Wait, who did this movie? Is it Is it a Hallmark?
No,
Lifetime?
it's like
a
it
real
played in
movie?
the. It's
played
a
in the
movie
theaters?
movie.
Oh.
Yes.
We got to do that this year for the Christmas time season. Yeah.
Yes, and it's got Gerard Depardieu as like a chef, and she's so good in it. You love her so much in the movie because Queen Latifah she's one of those actresses like that. She's special when she's on screen. Like you like her. You know, she just and she has the riz.
She's got the riz, y'all.
as the kids like to say. So that's our non-creep, Queen Latifah.
Good job, Sonia. Please send us your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps, all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, social media-wise. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one, but you could be clever and use something on your own. Our email, once again, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like some stickers, we got some cute stickers, y'all. Let us know. Yes. We'll drop in the mail for you. And if you like the sound of our voices, and it's been a while, you probably do. The longer shows. We also co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. What's the one we just did? We did
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah, R.I.P.
But it's been getting good feedback. My friend Jennifer tweeted to us how she got choked up a couple times listening to it because she also misses Pee-wee.
And that movie holds up if you haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And
so funny.
This weekend, we're going to be talking about mermaids, 1990s mermaids with Cher and Bob Hoskins, Winona Ryder, Michael Schofield, Christina Ricci. Reach. She's in there.
The Reach.
We're excited. And it's already been, like, people are busted up over at our Facebook group. We also talk about dorking out there. Yeah.
I love it.
And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter, as long as that's a thing, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, wherever. You can always find me there. Where can people find you, Margot?
You can find me on Twitter at Brooklyn Margot, on Instagram, Threads, and my site. It's Brooklyn Fit Chick, and I am at Margot Donahue on the TikTok. All right, y'all, be good, be safe, enjoy your meals. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.